Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us here at the North Coast Redwoods. We're just going to hold on just a moment and wait for some people to come on into the live stream. So just hang out, sit back, make yourselves comfortable. We'll just allow this time for people to jump on in. All right, looks like we got a few people joining us. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We are here at Fort Humboldt State Historic Park. We are in the museum. This is one of those buildings that's also closed, unfortunately, due to the pandemic situation, and we are hoping that we'll be able to get all of these places open as soon as possible with your help. Make sure to be following those guidelines of social distancing, sheltering in place, and helping us to flatten the curve. And very soon, we'll be able to come out and visit all of these spaces again. And in the meantime, we're here to bring the parks to you. And so here again at Fort Humboldt in the museum, and we are joined by interpreter Maiya. Maiya's going to talk to us a little bit, so I'm just going to let Maiya take the floor. Take it away, Maiya.
Hi, like Ryan said, my name is Maiya and I'm an interpreter for California State Parks, and I usually work out at Patrick's Point State Park in the village at Sumay. And today we're going to talk about this Yurok Redwood canoe and a little bit about why it looks this way and what we usually do with it. So we always give redwood canoes organs because we believe redwoods are living and they're an important part of our culture. So this right here is the heart of the canoe. And Yurok people don't get into canoes unless they have heart and organs, because we believe that it has a purpose and that it should have these things in order to be in the water and have our families in them. So when you look right here, I don't know if you can see it very well, but you can feel it very it's the lungs of the canoe, and this gives it the will and desire to be above the water and glide across the water and bring people places. And so they're at the front of the canoe. And right here we have the nose and the cheekbones to give it personality, because it does have a will and a desire, and it does have its own mind, and it wants to be in different places than maybe you want to put it. So as you come along here, you can kind of see it on this side, but you can put your hand along this all the way to the end, and you can't see my fingertips because they're all the way wrapped around. So this is where they would pick up the canoe and slide it into the water. And then down here, these are the kidneys to purify and keep your family and you safe, but they also have a dual purpose of putting your feet there when you're riding in the canoe. And back here is an important part of the canoe, is where kind of like the captain or the person that's like the motor of the boat sits. And they're very skilled, and they maneuver themselves through the water on the ocean and in the river. And so there's different types of canoes. This would probably be an ocean-bound canoe. It looks pretty big, and you could fit maybe 5 to 6 people in this canoe, depending on the size. And other canoes might be smaller, so they would fit around the same amount of people, but it just would be smaller. And so these people are really skilled to get their way through the water.
Are there any questions that anyone has in any of our viewers for Maiya about the canoe? Anything else? I see a question that was about, was this used for traveling on the ocean? Sounds like you added that, but maybe you want to talk about some of the other sizes of canoes?
So this canoe, I don't believe, has been on the water, but it is meant for the water. It was built for a learning purpose. So people are learning about this just like you guys. And so this will end up getting moved, but they are, this is like the size of an ocean-bound canoe.
Emily has a question about how heavy is this canoe?
So when they're first made, they have lots of water because they were a tree, before then, and they absorbed all that moisture, and so they'd be around 1,000 to 2,000 pounds when they're first made. But if they're sitting kind of like this one and they're out in the sun or at a museum, they tend to lose a lot of water weight, and they end up being around 500 pounds. So they're significantly lighter.
So 500 pounds is probably a little heavier than a refrigerator.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a question about what are canoes used for. I guess maybe we go into a little more detail. Like, so you're going out to the ocean, going to the river.
When you gather, you typically now we would use cars and things like that. So we'd be taking boats to different locations and gathering and fishing and hunting and things like that is what we would use these canoes for. And we would use them for ceremony too.
We have a question. How long would it take to build one of these canoes?
For one person, probably around 7 years, or a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on the person and if they had people with them. Because there's a connection between the person and the canoe that is building the canoe, and that's their job in the community, is to make the canoes. And so their connection between the boat or the canoe and them is very important, so they don't want other people to put bad feeling into their canoe, because it is for their family.
There was a question about, do these canoes have a gender? Would you consider them, if they're a living being with their own autonomy, do they have a gender?
Me personally, I don't know the answer to that question. Maybe other people feel differently about that, but I don't believe. I think they're just spirit beings that are there, and they have their own spirit, and they have a will and a desire to do what they're made for.
Awesome. The question is, do canoes have names?
I would assume people would probably name their canoes just like they named their cars. I don't know, but yeah, maybe.
Let's see if there are any other questions. How far out in the ocean might a crew take one of these canoes?
That's a really good question that I should ask somebody else that knows.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, you have a picture here too, so...
Right. So, just like this canoe, this one is been on the water, and that is me not too long ago, just a few months ago, riding canoes down the Klamath River out into close to the mouth of the river into the ocean.
Would you say that that canoes, to Yurok people and other indigenous communities, that canoes are sort of like cars, or have been like cars?
Yeah, they are. They're probably faster than walking across a big land mass than going around it in your canoe.
Excellent. We have another question. So I saw a question. Do you have the same type of canoe for ocean versus lagoon or river? I think we mentioned a little bit earlier, but maybe just to repeat that.
They're all really the same, other than the size difference. And there's different people that make different canoes, so they might look a little different, feel a little different, because everybody's different.
Did anyone? I don't know if I heard anyone ask about how they're made, or what the number one tool is. Forgive me for not hearing that if you did, but could you say something about that?
So they use two different tools. There was kind of like chipping at it with elk horn and fire. So they would burn, and that's why this is so dark, is that it'd be burnt and then chipped and burnt and then chipped, and you can see inside the canoe that there's like little chips that you can feel inside this canoe.
Excellent. We have a couple people wanting to see the canoe a little bit more from a distance, so we'll give you that view there for a second. So if there's, maybe we'll take one or two more questions. We got Jennifer saying, love you guys, keep them coming. We really appreciate that, the feedback. Thank you so much. And we have a question about maybe a question about the tree. Do they ask the tree if it wants to be a canoe? is there a way to ask? So that's kind of a loaded question, because it kind of asks also how you get a canoe from a tree.
So we use redwood a lot because it shows strength and it protects us. And so we never cut down redwoods. We wait till they fall and we use them then. And sometimes they explode into certain shapes that you need, and sometimes not so much. And so they would take this big log if it didn't explode, and they would use it because there's a story why we use redwood and the way we use it, and that it protects us and that it shows us strength and caring for other people. And so the creator told the redwood tree, because he did something, that he was going to be used by the people, and that the Yurok people use him, and they always put him with a heart, and that he's living, and that he'll always be important to them. And so that's why we use redwood.
Excellent. Well, everyone, I want to thank you so much for joining us and for all of your love and support. And also definitely want to thank interpreter Maiya for sharing us a little bit about this canoe and its significance to her culture. And just an acknowledgement that here at Fort Humboldt, this is the ancestral land of the Wiyot tribe. And to learn a little bit more about the history of Fort Humboldt and the general area, please join us on Saturday for the same time, and for another live stream about that with Ranger Kyle. So thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you Maiya for joining us as well. Have a great rest of your day.